Hello everyone. This is the fourth part of the story, Marvel Unlimited Skills, I Can Download. Chapter 24, Target Confirmation. As for the high-level rewards, naturally Bruce also wanted to get them. However, those were not in New York. This normally wouldn't be a problem, but this time, he could only be active in New York. As for the other places, their main problems were time and distance related. And so, albeit regretful, Bruce could only give up on them, and start concentrating on implementing his plans. Since I have confirmed what my goal is, I can begin preparing. After his previous encounter, Bruce thought that there was a possibility for the three he picked this time to have special abilities that S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't know about as well. Everything had to be put on hold until he did his homework on each of them clearly and get the results he wanted. This would definitely help Bruce in dealing with them. As he got promoted, his access to S.H.I.E.L.D's information had gotten higher, which meant that doing research on a couple of contracts should definitely go over smoothly. Bruce's identity in this world had indeed been a huge convenience for him. After about an hour, the three's habits, identities, personalities etc. had been thoroughly studied by Bruce. And after doing that, Bruce opened Parker's page, which he hoped would have some changes. But as always, there was no problem at all. Tomorrow he would go to Midtown High School, so he decided to look at the curriculum as to not go in blind. Oh, in 7 days at the latest, Parker must join an extracurricular activity. When Bruce saw this, there was a hint of surprise on his face. In the movies, Parker's mutation came about during this extracurricular activity. But Bruce could not be sure it would be the same this time around. Well, when the time comes, I will know. Once Parker got his superpower, he would be the first to know. Early the next morning, Bruce went to Midtown High School as usual. Because he was a PE teacher, there were not many courses. No matter in which country you were, physical education courses were not very valued. As nothing special happened that day, Bruce went home after class as usual. In front of the computer, the red dot representing Parker had just gotten back home. After confirming that he was not in danger, Bruce closed the tracking tab. OSS Jacket, Level 7 Threat, Specialty is Counter-Tracking. In a particular battle with the police, he caught bullets with his bare hands. On the computer, there was a picture of a middle-aged man with all the information recorded by S.H.I.E.L.D. Being able to catch bullets with his bare hands, that was definitely related to a hidden special ability. Whether it was a speed ability or other type of special ability. Bruce currently had pig iron body and was not afraid of an ordinary cold weapon, but should he be faced with bullets or automatic weapons, he could only escape. Not to mention Hulk, even if he had Parker's abilities after he went through his mutation, he would be more than strong enough for some automatic weapons. He must constantly keep getting new abilities. And this OSS in front of his eyes was his first goal. The bounty on him was also $500,000. After everything was ready, Bruce drove away from home. Near a dark street with no light nor figures, there were a bunch of abandoned factories. A man who was not very tall, was wearing a hoodie and had his face hid in the dark. His skinny body seemed to blend into the whole night. "Damn S.H.I.E.L.D., making me unable to live normally," the man whispered. Although in his heart he was very angry, his face looked very calm. Even if he was facing the police, he would not be afraid at all. But S.H.I.E.L.D. was too mysterious and powerful, and there were too many powerful agents. Even if he had some special abilities, he dared not face S.H.I.E.L.D. He could only be like a street mouse, hidden in the dark. The man continued to move forward and wanted to return to his temporary home. But at this time, he felt a cold breath that suddenly made him sweat. In this narrow street, a man in a suit stood near the end of it, and the moonlight stretched his shadow long. The man seemed to be waiting for him. After seeing him, he directly turned around and made his escape without any hesitation. His felt the danger that man posed. The man at the end of the street was naturally Bruce. When he saw the man turn around without hesitation, he immediately narrowed his eyes. Shrill, 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 under Hawkeye's marksman ability, even in the dark, he could hit any target. The 5 darts were thrown out directly by him, and there was a sound of something bursting coming soon afterwards. The man's face changed, and he dodged, narrowly avoiding the dart. The moment he ducked, Bruce used super speed, which made him appear in front of the man in an instant. Bang! He punched directly, with precision and ferocity. OSS was furious and soon counterattacked. Bang! Bruce only felt a sharp pain in his fist, and was slightly taken aback. And his target OSS, under the influence of Bruce's power, retreated at full speed. He still wanted to run away. Bruce's eyes turned cold, and he instantly untied shirt, making dozens of darts appear in his hands. Shrill, shrill, shrill. Under the powerful strength of Bruce, the speed of the sharp darts had exceeded a bullet. And with the distance between the two being so close, OSS could not dodge. Oh! OSS bellowed, opening his gloves. His hands instantly showed the luster of metal. Bang, bang, bang. Every single dart was caught by his hands, either making them break or lose their power. Seeing this scene, Bruce's eyes showed a faint happiness. Sure enough, it was a special ability. After that, Bruce moved again without hesitation. His hands caught OSS's shoulders in an instant, and OSS's message was clearly presented to him. Chapter 25, Obtaining a New Ability. Name, OSS Jacket. Identity, Level 7 Contract. Ability, Top-Level Fighting Technique, 130 MB, Speed Boost, 200 MB, Proficiency in Firearms, 300 MB, Strengthened Hands, 800 MB. Sure enough, Bruce's guess was spot on. The man in front of him possessed a special ability. It was not a superpower, but it was more than enough. OSS Strengthened Hands ability made his hands enter a special state. Under this kind of strengthening, the speed and strength of his hands, as well as his overall attack power, greatly improved. Bruce instantly selected the ability and went to download it, with no hesitation whatsoever. Beep, connection established. Beep, the Strengthened Hands ability's size is 800 MB, download has begun. Beep, the current download speed is 1 MB/s, valid within 5 meters. After downloading Black Widow's abilities, the speed and range of Bruce's download system had improved by quite a bit. His current download speed was 1 MB/s, which meant that he would finish the download in about 13 minutes. After figuring that out, Bruce began delaying his battle with OSS for as long as possible. This time the download speed was only 13 minutes, so he could afford to wait it out, instead of speeding up the process with money like he usually did. This time, he was determined. There was no way he would return to the Avengers base without completing all 3 of his contracts. He was in a desperate need of money right now, and this way, he would also obtain a variety of abilities along the way. It was truly killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Otherwise, when he met other superheroes in the future, he would be forced to give up downloading their abilities, which was a truly depressing thought. Presently, however, in the face of OSS's hands, Bruce was in a bit of trouble. Those hands could break his defense, however, fortunately he was fast enough. Otherwise, he would become the prey. Beep, download complete. Beep, congratulations to the host for obtaining the Strengthened Hands ability. After the battle had been going on for quite some time, the system's sound finally came, making Bruce lighten up instantly. At this time, OSS realized that something was wrong, and he tried his best to break Bruce's bones by targeting his chest. At that moment, Bruce used his new Strengthened Hands ability. His hands began to emit a metallic luster in an instant, shining with a cold light. Bang! Bruce and OSS collided with their fists, and the impact emitted a sound similar to that of grinding steel. In just a second, the battle had completely turned on its head. OSS retreated and fell into an unfavorable situation. How could that be? OSS's face changed. He clearly saw that Bruce's hands were exactly the same as his. And while he was stunned, a smile appeared on Bruce's face. He very clearly felt that his hands right now possessed horrendous power, and the speed to go with it. And so, Bruce started moving. Bang, 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 the walls made out of concrete were broken by Bruce. Initially, Bruce's power was slightly weaker than OSS's. But now that he had obtained OSS's ability, the situation was instantly reversed. Bang! Seizing the moment when OSS was distracted, Bruce managed to break his chest. For the first time since the fight started, the cold streets in this area were drenched by blood. Although OSS was very powerful, he was after all, a human. After 3 minutes, the battle came to an end. Bruce didn't get rid of the corpse though, that would be a huge waste. As this particular corpse was worth $500,000. Ring, ring. As he was handling the corpse, a phone rang. It was OSS's phone. Bruce's face slightly changed, but he immediately put his rubber gloves on, and took a look at the phone. OSS, why haven't you come back yet? There was only one contact in the phone, and there was no address on it. But, it was not all bad news. Bruce noticed that the name of the messenger was Tez Jacket. Bruce's eyes lit up. This name was also a shield-provided contract, and a level 8 one at that. Bruce instantly retrieved the information obtained on Tez, as well as his reward for completing Tez's contract. Intellect is extraordinary, he is very mysterious. His heart had been shot 3 times, yet he is still alive. Reward, $1 million. His heart was shot 3 times but he is still alive and well. In other words, he may have a special ability related to healing. Bruce had long coveted this kind of ability. Just like Wolverine and Deadpool, with one special healing ability, he could become a superhero, and a decently strong one at that. Of course, he was not expecting for Tez's ability to be as strong as theirs. Otherwise, Tez wouldn't be a mere level 8 contract. Bruce could be sure that those superheroes from Marvel will definitely appear in the future. Phoenix, Magneto, Cyclops and even Professor X may eventually appear in this universe. The world could very well become very chaotic. So, he had to become strong enough before those mysterious superheroes appeared. Tez's healing ability was a very important one for him. After quickly getting rid of any unnecessary thoughts, Bruce began typing to Tez without hesitation. I am in danger here. He didn't say too much, since he was afraid of being discovered. After all, Tez had a very high intelligence according to his information, and Bruce believed that Tez would soon find this place regardless of the lack of information provided. Bruce only needed to wait for him. At the same time, in a random abandoned factory, Tez received the text from his brother. In danger. Tez slightly frowned when he read that. Recently, S.H.I.E.L.D. had become very active, and he was afraid to go out at will. But he also knew that S.H.I.E.L.D. would not pay much attention to small fries like him, so after some thinking, he decided to go and take a look. He put on a coat, and disappeared into the darkness. Tez was really smart, and soon he found the route OSS had traveled. But what he didn't figure out, was that he was walking into Bruce's trap. Chapter 26, Healing Ability. Tez's detection ability was really strong, especially because of how prudent he is. But at this point, no matter how careful he was, he had to go out in the open due to his brother being in danger. OSS's route is unpredictable, but he's probably somewhere nearby. Tez muttered to himself. He observed his surroundings each time he took a step forward. Facing such a prudent person, it was no wonder that no one had caught him yet. Right now, he was walking on a dimly lit street, wearing a black suit that made it easier for him to merge into the darkness. After a short period of time, he saw OSS sitting on a narrow street. Although the lighting wasn't good, he could still confirm that the man sitting on the ground was his brother. OSS! He shouted. But after waiting for some time, he didn't get a response. Seeing his brother not responding, instantly made him go on alert, something's wrong. After confirming that there was nothing in the vicinity, he just stood there, still not walking near OSS. His character didn't allow him to lose his cool, so he could keep his mind calm even in these circumstances. Did S.H.I.E.L.D. find us? Tez was a bit nervous, making his paranoia kick in and instantly thinking if this was somehow linked to S.H.I.E.L.D. When he thought of that, he remained still as ever, not showing anything. No matter what happened, his life came first. And with that, he turned back without hesitation. In his mind, his brother was already dead, and there was no point in dying for a dead person. Whoosh! At that time, a dozen flying sabers shot towards his face. It's a trap. As a level 8 criminal, he was so powerful that even other level 8 agents from S.H.I.E.L.D. could not hurt him. He turned back again to avoid the sabers. But the flying sabers were more difficult to deal with than expected, making it so he couldn't slip away at that moment. Pissed. His abdomen was penetrated by 2 flying sabers. Against the saber's powerful force, his whole body collided with the wall behind him heavily. What a strange flying saber, and what terrific accuracy. This time, Tez freaked out. Is it Hawkeye? Hawkeye was a legendary agent from S.H.I.E.L.D. that he just couldn't even touch. Such a powerful person was here to kill him and his brother? How could that be possible? As he was thinking, at the end of the street, a dark shade was moving towards him at a rapid pace. Here he comes. Tez took out a pistol with a silencer, withstanding the agony that the movement brought. Bang, bang, bang. 3 consecutive bullets flew out, shot accurately at Bruce. But Bruce just raised one of his hands, without any panic in his eyes. Oh! He felt a warm current flow through his hand, and a great strength surge within him. He strengthened his hand in a second. The 3 bullets were all caught by him, not even managing to inflict pain on him. How could that be possible? Tez watched Bruce walking closer and closer, completely surprised. The movements he just made were the same that his brother OSS made when he activated his ability. In a second, he confirmed that his enemy was not Hawkeye, but he was definitely an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Clank! Tez took out the katana on his back and slashed towards Bruce when he got close. Bruce avoided the attack immediately, and took out his dagger to parry it. Clank, the 2 metal objects crossing made sparks fly out everywhere. Both of them had powerful fighting techniques. When they passed by each other, they had already exchanged strikes many times. His abdomen was penetrated by my saber, but there is no blood flowing out or any effect on his combat effectiveness. That's definitely due to his healing ability. Bruce thought. When they exchanged strikes, Bruce had already confirmed his enemy's ability. He knew that if someone had that kind of power, they could ignore normal injuries. That's the reason why he was still alive even after his heart had gotten shot 3 times. In other words, normal severe wounds couldn't kill him. Unless his body got badly damaged, like losing a limb, he would recover. In a short period of time, Bruce had already finished his assessment on his enemy. He didn't believe that Tez could heal himself from a severed limb, because only Wolverine and Deadpool were capable of his. Tez was only a level 8 criminal, so he definitely couldn't do that. Otherwise Hawkeye and Black Widow would definitely go after him. But the abilities that Tez had were definitely close to superpowers. It was a pity that Bruce didn't have supervision, otherwise his flying sabers would definitely not miss if he wasn't affected by the darkness. When he thought of this, Bruce was looking forward to meeting Hawkeye again. Clank! With the battle prolonging, Bruce was confident in his victory. As he had Black Widow's fighting ability, he would definitely not lose in a long fight. Tez couldn't defeat him, but he could hold him up for a little while. Who the hell is this guy? There is no such guy in S.H.I.E.L.D. At this time, Tez was really scared. This guy's fighting technique was so strong that Tez could barely even hold his own. Unless he was a level 9 agent, which would explain his capabilities. But he knew all of the level 9 agents working for S.H.I.E.L.D. and none of them fit this guy's profile. At this moment, Bruce's right hand shone, showing a faint metallic luster on it, making its way towards his face. That is too fast. Tez was freaking out because he didn't have a chance of getting away from that. The next moment, Bruce's hand made contact with his body, but the imagined strength didn't come through. What happened? Tez was confused, but he saw a smile come up on Bruce's face. When Bruce touched Tez's body, he got information on Tez and his abilities. Name, Tez Jacket. Identity, level 8 contract. Ability, top-level fighting technique, 250 megabytes, knife proficiency, 300 megabytes, proficiency in firearms, 300 megabytes, self-healing, 2 gigabytes. It was really a self-healing ability. Bruce was right. And he also knew all the details about this ability. If you got hurt, even if it was fatal, you could still heal yourself in a safe place. But you would still die if you got another fatal wound in a short period of time. He had to use this ability in a very safe environment. Even though there was a limitation, the ability was still really good and useful for Bruce. Bruce instantly pressed the download button. Chapter 27, Getting an Ability. Beep, connection established. Beep, Saber proficiency size is 300 MB, download started. Beep, self-healing size is 3 GB, download started. Beep, the current download speed is 1 MB/s, valid within 5 meters. Bruce was not satisfied with obtaining only the self-healing ability, he took a risk this time, so he had to go all in. After seeing that his opponent had Saber proficiency, he also began downloading it without hesitation. The download speed and range had not improved, but Bruce didn't care about that. Soon enough, he might make the download speed 2 MB/s. Right now though, with his current download speed, it would be another 50 minutes before he has successfully downloaded both abilities. Even though 50 minutes sound like a long time, he decided not to speed the process up this time. After all, there was no real need to do so. Meanwhile, Tez looked at Bruce's calm expression and became more and more nervous. The man in front of him was very mysterious, and his fighting ability was very strong as well. He didn't know why, but he felt the danger that he was in every time he looked at Bruce. No, I can't go on like this. Tez thought, and made his move. He had to find a gap that he could use to escape. Despite searching for it for a long time though, Bruce's fighting technique was stronger than Tez's, so he was unable to shake him off. As time went by, Tez became more and more nervous, and he no longer had his usual calmness that he always possessed. "Ah, I will send you to see God." Tez's eyes showed a hint of red. From that point on, he began fighting without caring for his defense, only dodging or blocking when his vitals were in danger. Psst. He was pierced by Bruce's dagger, but he didn't care. Instead, he quickly slashed his saber towards Bruce. Bruce's facial expression did not change throughout all of this. With his super speed, he instantly dodged and left behind only a residual image. Psst. After 4 attacks, Bruce completely cut off Tez's hamstrings and the tendons in his hands, making him lose the ability to move. Despite that, Bruce did not finish him off. After all, if the man died, his abilities would also disappear. Bruce still had yet to finish downloading Tez's abilities, so naturally he would not let him off the hook yet. Tez was currently laying on the ground, with Bruce looking down on him in his black suit, like a god of death. For the first time in his life, Tez felt complete despair. But, no matter how desperate he was still unable to move. Bruce didn't care about him, he was just waiting out the 40 minutes left for his download to finish. He stood silently next to Tez, and every 10 minutes or so, he cut off the tendons in his hands and in his feet, again and again. The self-healing ability repaired these injuries in a short amount of time, so he had to repeat the process a lot of times in order to cut off any hope Tez had left. As time passed, Tez's face gradually became pale. He didn't understand what the man in front of him was doing. Why didn't he kill him, but was instead torturing him like this? Finally, after 40 minutes passed, Bruce suddenly heard the sound of system. Beep, download complete. Beep, congratulations, you've obtained the Saber proficiency ability. Beep, congratulations, you've obtained the self-healing ability. Finally, the download's finished. Bruce smiled, very satisfied with this result. But at this time, Tez pulled out a knife. After hearing the system's notification, Bruce did not pay any attention to him. And Tez finally saw his chance. Go to hell. Tez was really excited right now, he had obtained hope amidst all his despair. Bruce, however, seemingly without any effort, just raised his palms. Psst. Because of the pig iron body ability, even a special steel knife could only cut through Bruce's skin, and go no further than that. Against this kind of knife, however, not even a drop of blood was spilled. Tez was completely shocked, and he looked at Bruce as if this was completely implausible. Because right in front of him, Bruce's palms were starting to recover at a speed visible to the naked eye. Why? How can it be? Tez's face changed. First, this guy somehow had the same ability that his brother had, and now, he somehow had his self-healing ability. He really couldn't understand the man in front of him. Surprised? That's right, you guessed it, it's your ability. Bruce smiled, and a cold light flashed through his eyes. He pulled the dagger out of his hand and stabbed it into Tez's neck. After that, he pierced through Tez's heart with his saber. Against these kinds of injuries, even if he had the self-healing ability, he was done for. After finishing him off, Bruce opened up his panel. Name, Bruce. Identity, Level 5 Agent. Ability, Marksman, Anti-Aging Gene, Super Speed, Self-Healing, Strengthened Hands, Pig Iron Body, Superb Level Fighting Technique, Saber Proficiency, Firearms Proficiency, Covert Tracking. Balance, 0. Now that he had more abilities, his strength was also massively increased. And this was just the beginning of his journey. It's time to contact S.H.I.E.L.D., Bruce smiled. Those two men were worth $1.5 million. It was a huge profit. After some time had passed, he contacted the reward department of S.H.I.E.L.D. And soon after, 2 cars appeared in front of Bruce, and 4 agents came out. Mr. Bruce. These men were very respectful, they were only level 3 or 4 agents, and in front of a level 5 agent like Bruce, they were nothing. Take them away. Bruce said. And these agents' faces changed when checking the identity of the 2 men. God, they are the Jacket brothers. Mr. Bruce is too powerful, he killed both of them in the same day. These agents were very surprised, and after taking a glance at Bruce again, they were even more respectful. After the handover, Bruce had an extra $1.5 million. Subsequently, the agents left, and Bruce went back to his residence. At this moment, he did not know that the fact that he had killed the 2 Jacket brothers had already shaken the upper levels of S.H.I.E.L.D. Chapter 28, Phil Coulson's Plan. At that moment, in a secret room of S.H.I.E.L.D., Zoe and Coulson, a senior member of S.H.I.E.L.D., were standing in the Chamber of Secrets. And in front of them, there were 2 dead bodies. God, they are Jacket brothers. However, the 2 men had already been dead for several hours and had long stopped breathing. Bruce's abilities may be stronger than we thought. Zoe said as he stared at both bodies. Even he couldn't kill a level 7 and level 8 bounty at the same time. And yet, Bruce had been more than capable of doing that himself, and overnight as well. Coulson could feel that Bruce had changed in some way from before, but he did not expect that his strength had improved by so much. Even if they excluded everything else Bruce did, just his show of strength by killing the 2 brothers, was enough to mistake him as a level 7 agent. So the decision to assign Bruce as Peter Parker's protector was completely correct. What about Peter Parker, has anything happened to him recently? Not yet, he is safe for now. Zoe answered. I think Hydra will have to try their best if they want to have a chance of passing by a powerful agent like Bruce. Zoe thought that Bruce would soon be stronger than him. Coulson said, especially now that there are less than optimal high-level agents in S.H.I.E.L.D. In fact, S.H.I.E.L.D. had long wanted to deal with some things, but they lacked the manpower to do them, at least temporarily. Otherwise, Nick Fury would not be making a group of monsters to deal with some of the bigger events. Do you want to give him the mission? Yes, but I still want to test him. Coulson replied. After all, this kind of thing was too big, even Zoe did not know the exact details regarding the mission. In fact, in the whole of S.H.I.E.L.D. the number of people who knew the exact details regarding the mission were no more than 5. And luckily for Bruce, Phil Coulson was one of them. Test him? Zoe had doubts. With the strength Bruce had revealed, he could easily be counted as a level 7 agent. But Coulson was worried that they had not yet made Bruce reveal all of his abilities, and he was still hiding his strength. And at that time, the door opened. A man wearing a black suit walked in, holding a longbow, with eyes resembling an eagle's. It was, of course, Hawkeye. When he walked in, Zoe looked nervous and then bowed. "Hello, Mr. Barton. Coulson, what do you want me to do?" Barton first nodded at Zoe, and then asked. Coulson, though, did not say anything, he only gave Barton a photo of Bruce. "I want to test him. He is eligible to receive the task of overseeing the recovery training of the captain." Barton looked at the photo and frowned slightly. He recognized Bruce. The captain's recovery training is very important, but this guy is still a level 3 agent. How is he qualified? Hawkeye asked. Coulson smiled and looked at the 2 dead bodies in the room. "Do you think that he is qualified now?" Hawkeye was very clever. He figured out what Hawkeye was trying to tell him immediately. "I know what to do." Phil Coulson nodded and then left the room with Barton. Meanwhile, in Bruce's temporary residence in Queens, Bruce was using training equipment to adapt to his newly acquired abilities. After downloading the abilities off of the 2 Jacket brothers, he had become a lot more powerful. In fact, he was making great progress. After doing everything, Bruce once again turned the computer on. A white man appeared on the screen, who was also a level 7 bounty task. His name was Doyle Jones, and he was Bruce's next target. S.H.I.E.L.D. had commented on him, excellent abilities, extremely intelligent, and has joined the Hydra organization, but escaped at a later time, and is now being chased by both S.H.I.E.L.D. and HYDRA. He is currently in New York for the time being. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s base camp was in New York, so while the Hydra organization was huge, it would not blatantly enter the area. Since he could escape from S.H.I.E.L.D., it seems that this person is far from normal. Bruce was interested in him, but he had to deal with that in a few days, as he still had stuff to do. The next morning, Bruce went to Midtown High School as usual. He talked mostly with Parker and instilled some of his thoughts to him. To some extent, he could be considered to be Parker's godfather. 3 days after Bruce took out the Jacket brothers, he acted again. During these 3 days, he had been collecting information from various sources to determine Doyle Jones's possible locations. In the outskirts of New York. It was already dark. There was a small jungle nearby, and a white and dilapidated room was there, that looked very ordinary in the jungle. There were many such rooms around. Bruce was walking in the dark. He had confirmed the location of his target. "It's no wonder that it took me 3 days to find him," Bruce talking to himself. Soon, a room appeared in front of him. This was the room that Doyle Jones lived in. Bruce took a look around, careful to not make any sound. Finally, he entered the room from a window, and the furnishings inside were extremely simple, just like what ordinary people would have. Almost immediately, Bruce heard a sound. "This is bad." Bruce looked flustered, because what he heard and saw was a bomb. And just outside the room, there was a tall man holding a remote control. As soon as he saw Bruce enter the room, he directly pressed down. Chapter 29, Mind Control Immunity. Boom! The loud explosion caused the ground to vibrate. Fortunately, the explosion was in an uninhabited area, otherwise there would have been great damage and loss of life. Having heard the huge explosion, the tall man smiled. "Dare to cause me trouble?" Humph. After saying that, he was about to leave, with no hesitation whatsoever. He stayed completely calm during the explosion. After all, normal people could not survive from such a huge explosion. Whereas he, as a man who could survive the hunting of both S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra, he was an absolute badass. "I can't stay here anymore. There are already some visitors," Doyle considered, "which proves that someone has been tracking me all along." Whoosh! Something exploded just as he turned his back. "Didn't I?" Doyle was confused. That fact alone had him off guard for a moment, during which he was attacked by flying sabers. Bruce had the marksman ability, so although the smoke made the area foggy, his sight was not affected at all. Pissed. Doyle's shoulder was hit. Under such a powerful force, he fell to the ground, in complete agony. Dumbfounded, he struggled to get up and look at the figure in the fire. It was Bruce. Although he was somewhat disheveled, he was not injured. The explosion just now was indeed very dangerous. However, He had the pig iron body and various other abilities, which helped him escape from the center of the explosion at a crucial time. Doyle Jones? What a powerful man! His anti-reconnaissance ability and IQ got my respect. Doyle could feel the danger emanating from Bruce, who just stood in the distance with both hands empty. What a tough guy he is! Doyle thought to himself. Such a violent explosion actually didn't hurt him, which shocked Doyle badly. Are you from S.H.I.E.L.D.? Doyle asked. Although he was in danger now, he looked very calm. However, Bruce kept silent, neither admitting nor denying. If you are from S.H.I.E.L.D., can you let me go? Of course, I will make it worth your while. The pay mentioned wasn't money, of course. Doyle couldn't have any savings because he had no legal status in the United States. I'm not interested. Bruce spoke. He didn't care about the pay that Doyle would give him. But what if it's about HYDRA? I can guarantee that S.H.I.E.L.D. will be very interested. And you will be valued greatly if you get them this information. Doyle was confident because his offer was worthy enough. No one would not care. But Bruce was completely unconcerned. S.H.I.E.L.D.? Hydra? They meant nothing to him. Although he was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., he did not blindly work for them. They were just temporarily beneficial to Bruce in his mission of strengthening himself. And that was the most important thing for him. As for the information on Hydra, he did not care. What he really cared about was that this guy in front of him owned very attractive abilities. That was in itself enough. Noticing that Bruce didn't react at all, Doyle's face changed dramatically. This is a great deal. Do you really not want to obtain the information? He was at his wit's end. Bruce shook his head and a knife appeared in his hand. He realized that this guy not only had a high IQ, but he was also extremely powerful. That was the reason why he tried to trade. Then, Bruce walked toward Doyle slowly. And at this time, a remote control suddenly appeared in Doyle's hands. Go to hell! He screamed. There were other bombs on the ground near him, but he would never get his turn. Right as Doyle took out his remote control, Bruce threw his dagger. Pissed. Doyle's hand and the remote control both dropped, covered in blood. His nasty trick was almost useless in front of Bruce. I need to hurry up, I can't let him die yet. Bruce quickly stepped forward and knocked Doyle out. There are other bombs here, huh? He'd better be careful. When he found a safe place, Bruce looked at Doyle's abilities. Name, Doyle Jones. Identity, Level 7 Wanted Man, member of HYDRA. Ability, Intermediate Level Fighting Techniques, 100 MB, Explosion Mastery, 200 MB, Gun Mastery, 300 MB, Mind Control Immunity, 2 GB. Mind Control Immunity. Bruce was delighted. Previously he had never even thought of obtaining this ability, showing how rare it was. In the recent New York War, Loki would get a hold of the Mind Gem Scepter and get complete control of Hawkeye and the physicist Eric Selvig. If it wasn't for Loki's failure to control Iron Man, the outcome of the New York War would be unknown. Therefore, the ability Mind Control Immunity will be very important in the following New York War. On the other hand, Bruce speculated that the reason why Doyle had such an ability was related to HYDRA. The root cause of the Civil War was the Winter Soldier. So it was reasonable for Hydra to have something against mind control related abilities. After thinking for a moment, Bruce started downloading. Beep, connection established. Beep, mind control immunity file size, 2 GB, download started. Beep, download speed 1 MB/s, valid within 5 meters. And sure enough, half an hour later, the download finished. With mind control immunity, Bruce could do something in the upcoming New York War. Subsequently, Bruce contacted S.H.I.E.L.D. But this time, he did not choose to meet with the S.H.I.E.L.D. representatives directly, he just sent out his coordinates. The money would naturally enter his account after they confirmed his kill. As it was midnight, Bruce rushed back to his residence. But as he entered the city, his skin crawled because of an unknown feeling that suddenly hit him. Someone was following him. Chapter 30 Unexpected Tracker. After feeling that he was getting tracked, Bruce did not speed up or slow down. He wanted to know who exactly was following him. Meanwhile, not far away from Bruce, hiding in the dark, a shadow was moving extremely fast. Did he find me? That's impossible. The shadow muttered to itself for a while, and it came to the conclusion that it was impossible for Bruce to find it. As the two continued to move forward, however, the shadow confirmed that it was discovered. And soon after, Bruce stopped in an abandoned factory. He could choose to start the fight in the city, but he did not do so. After all, the fight would probably make a lot of noise and attract a lot of attention, which he did not want. So, he chose a nearby abandoned factory. And just when he entered the factory, a violent noise broke out in the air. It was a black alloyed arrow. The arrow was like black lightning, and it was flying at him at a very suitable angle with frightening speed. With super speed, Bruce managed to dodge the black arrow instantly. But even so, he felt a sense of crisis. Next, 5 arrows shot towards him from different directions. I can't avoid them. Bruce was alarmed. Even so, he did not have the slightest hesitation, and his hands directly turned into a metallic color. At the moment, he was wearing gloves, so others couldn't see what changes his hands went through. Bang, bang, bang. In the nick of time, he managed to block every single arrow. However, soon after that, his face changed. There were flashbangs tied to the arrows, something he didn't notice until it was too late. Bang! The violent white light seemed to illuminate the night, and all he could do was close his eyes and hope for the best. He knew it was dangerous to do so, but it was his only option. Whoosh! A series of sounds of something cutting through the air came again, and Bruce directly broke a wall of the factory with a fist, and lifted it over his head. Clang! The arrows all hit the wall, leaving Bruce unscathed. Boom! Right after though, another explosion sounded out. And this time, it was tear gas. Bruce quickly retreated. In the battle just now, Bruce fell into a disadvantage and never managed to break out of it. Perfect shooting accuracy, coupled with the flexible use of different kinds of arrows, add to that his lack of killing intent. Hawkeye, excluding you, I cannot think of anyone else capable of this. Are you here to test me? After a brief fight, Bruce had already exposed the identity and purpose of the man. As you wish, I will play with you. Bruce's mouth shifted sharply upwards, and 5 flying knives appeared in his hands immediately. In terms of shooting accuracy, Bruce and Hawkeye were almost the same. When comparing vision though, Bruce was slightly inferior. Therefore, he must seize the opportunity. According to Hawkeye's last shot, Bruce had grasped his general location. Whoosh! Bruce threw all the flying knives in his hand without hesitation. And when Hawkeye, who had been hidden in the dark throughout the whole fight, suddenly saw 5 flying knives coming towards him, his expression quickly shifted. He was shocked. How had Bruce managed to figure out his location so quickly? He quickly dodged them, exposing himself for the first time since the fight had started. But just as Hawkeye just left his position, there were more than a dozen flying knives coming at him. Hawkeye just smiled at this. However, there was a wall in front of him. There was no way Bruce's flying knives could penetrate it. Clang! But not more than a second later, he found to his horror just how wrong he was. Bruce's flying knives were grouped together to hit the same exact spot. Such precision rivaled even his. The wall was thick, but the flying knives were also no ordinary knives. Each flying knife managed to penetrate 1/3 of the wall. And against 10 flying knives, he was in serious danger. At this point, Hawkeye wanted to call it quits and escape. But he knew that it was already too late. Fortunately, Hawkeye moved a little with the help of his ability, super speed. That small movement managed to save his life in the end, as only his shoulder was hit. Damn, Hawkeye was a bit stunned. He just wanted to test Bruce, but he didn't expect to be injured by him in the end. And could he blame him? No, because in his mind, Bruce still didn't know his identity, he was just defending himself. At this moment, Bruce took the opportunity and quickly narrowed the distance between himself and Hawkeye. He knew that his accuracy was exactly the same as Hawkeye's. But Hawkeye surpassed him both in experience and skills, and he still lacked the supervision ability that Hawkeye had. If the two of them were at a sufficient distance, he would fall into an unfavorable situation again, and quickly. So, he grasped Hawkeye's weakness, and went into close combat. Hawkeye figured out his intentions, but there was nothing he could do. It was too late to shoot with his bow. Are all the new agents so terrifying now? Hawkeye was helpless, and could only fight it out in close combat with Bruce. In an instant, the two moved dozens of times. Hawkeye had a powerful fighting technique, but he was still no match for Bruce. After all, Bruce had the superb-level fighting technique which he got from Black Widow. After a few minutes, Hawkeye fell into a very unfavorable situation. "Stop, stop!" Hawkeye shouted. There was no point in continuing the fight. In close combat, he just wasn't Bruce's match. However, all he got in response was Bruce's fist. Hawkeye was knocked down on the ground with a punch, and Bruce quickly pulled out a dagger, attempting to end the fight. Hawkeye's face changed, and he quickly took out his shield badge and showed it to Bruce. "Bruce, it's me." Bruce stopped attacking and looked at the wretched Hawkeye, amazed. "Is that you, Mr. Barton?" Chapter 31, More Important Task. Of course, Bruce already knew who he was. Nonetheless, it was Hawkeye who attacked Bruce first, so he wanted to scare him a bit. Hawkeye looked at Bruce's expression and was relieved. This guy is really too fierce. Then, Bruce pulled him up, and Hawkeye's panel was presented to him once again. Name, Clinton Francis Barton. Identity, Hawkeye. Ability, Super Wisdom, 300 MB, Marksman, 500 MB, Super Strength, 500 MB, Super Speed, 500 MB, Sensitive Inducing, Supervision, 500 MB. Previously, Bruce selected Hawkeye's two super abilities, Super Speed and Marksman. Whereas this time, he was going for his Super Strength and Supervision. In their previous fight, Hawkeye was physically stronger than Bruce. Bruce only managed to defeat him by luck. In addition, Bruce's real strength was beyond Hawkeye's expectations, which made him unprepared. This was also one of his one-time advantages. In a real life-or-death fight, the winner was still uncertain. As for sensitive inducing, although Bruce wanted to get it as well, he chose to let it go. In the future, if Parker's superpowers were awakened, his spider telepathy would be much stronger than Hawkeye's sensitive inducing. Soon after, Bruce started the downloading process. Beep, connection established. Beep, Super Strength, 500 MB, download initiated. Beep, Supervision, 500 MB, download initiated. Beep, the current download speed is 1 MB/s, valid within 5 meters. For both abilities to be downloaded, he would need to stay near Hawkeye for the next 15 to 16 minutes. At the moment, Hawkeye was intensely staring at Bruce, as if trying to see through him. This time I've come on Phil Coulson's orders to give you a sort of test. As long as this task is completed, you will become a level 6 agent, and become eligible to obtain a more important task from S.H.I.E.L.D. Hawkeye said, while looking for some gauze for his shoulder. More important tasks, huh? Bruce narrowed his eyes, as he didn't understand what Hawkeye meant by that. However, looking at Hawkeye's serious attitude, Bruce knew that this task would not be easy. Well, thank you, Mr. Barton. Bruce smiled. Hawkeye nodded, while sincerely adding, I am really old. Just luck, said Bruce. He was very satisfied with Bruce's answer. After all, typically, people tended to develop a big ego after they have become important. Alright then, I'll be going first. See you around, Bruce. Subsequently, the two separated. Bruce nodded. Because at this time, the system sound rang again. Beep, download complete. Beep, congratulations on obtaining the Super Strength ability. Beep, congratulations on obtaining the Supervision ability. In an instant, Bruce could feel that his body had improved by at least 5 or 6 times. With his current strength, he may even be able to lift a car. When he threw his flying knives in the future, their destructive power would really be something to behold. But the biggest improvement Bruce had was in his eyes. In addition to having night vision, he could even spot a mouse hundreds of meters away from him. With his newly obtained abilities, his current strength could even be said to be higher than Hawkeye's strength. Now, whether it be melee or ranged combat, Bruce had it all covered. His current situation could be considered as perfect. Today's harvest was really good. Soon after, Bruce left the abandoned factory. He would have to return to the Avengers base when his mission was over, so he might as well use that extra time to earn some money. As for S.H.I.E.L.D., no matter what kind of task they gave him, he could only do his best. But he was sure that there was a great relationship between him and the newly established Avengers Alliance. Soon after, Bruce returned to the residence. And another $500,000 was added to his account, making that a total of $2 million USD. After putting that money into the system, he opened his panel. Name, Bruce. Identity, Level 5 Agent. Ability, Marksman, Anti-Aging Gene, Super Speed, Super Strength, Mind Control Immunity, Self-Healing, Strengthened Hands, Supervision, Pig Iron Body, Superb Level Fighting Technique, Saber Proficiency, Firearms Proficiency, Covert Tracking. Balance, $1 million USD. With $2 million USD, he could now accelerate his download speed by 2,000 times. During the next few days, Bruce did nothing but relax. In this way, 4 days passed by. On this day, Bruce had no classes, so he took the day off. Then, he looked at the recent events around the country. He needed to know when the New York War would begin, so that he could prepare in advance. And while Bruce was looking for information, Parker had just gotten on the school bus that took him home. At this time, he only felt dizzy, his whole body shaking with cold sweat running down his forehead. No! Was the spider poisonous? Am I about to die? No, I can't die. I need to find Mr. Bruce. He can save me. Parker kept saying in a voice that only he could hear. Chapter 32, Parker's Awakening. At the moment, Parker was feeling extremely uncomfortable. It was as if he was dying. He didn't know what was going on. Today was an extracurricular activity day, but he had managed to get bitten by a spider. He knew that spiders were very dangerous, so he was in quite the panic right now. There was only one thought in his heart now, and that was to ask for help. But he did not tell anyone, nor did he call home. In his mind, there was only one man capable of saving him right now. And that man was Bruce, the person he trusted the most. When the school bus arrived in front of the school, he called a cab and went directly to Bruce's house. In order to better protect Parker, Bruce had told him his address before, with the hope that Parker would find him during a crucial time. The school was only 5 streets away from Bruce's house, so it would not be long before he arrived. Meanwhile, Bruce was sitting in front of the computer, looking at the big events that happened recently. However, the Avengers had not yet formed, so all the news about them had been blocked off by S.H.I.E.L.D. Even with his authority as a level 5 agent, he could not even touch that subject. Perhaps only the real top agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. knew about that. Forget it, I'll stop looking for now, Bruce thought. According to his estimation, there were 2 possibilities on what his next task would be. The first one was the study of the Tesseract, and the other one might be about Captain America. Tesseract was listed as a top secret by S.H.I.E.L.D. and only Hawkeye could be in the complete know of something like this. As for Captain America, that was the more probable mission. After all, although Captain America was powerful, he had just awakened at this point in time. After 70 years of sleep, his body would be mostly paralyzed, and it would be a while before he could be at his full strength again. During this time, it would be impossible for him to exert his real strength. So, in the meantime, he needed some training to catch up to the world, as well as speed up his recovery process. If that's the case, this is great news. Bruce smiles. Captain America was injected with the super serum, and he also had a piece of the most powerful vibranium that S.H.I.E.L.D. had to offer. Vibranium was the rarest metal in the world before Wakanda officially revealed themselves. It was hard to get, and even Iron Man's father did not have a lot. If he could get his hands on SHIELD's vibranium, his strength would undoubtedly undergo a massive transformation. After a while though, Bruce no longer thought about this. Just as Bruce closed the page, the alarm he had set up for Parker began ringing. Peter's route is deviating. Bruce found that strange, so he then checked Parker's current location on his computer. And sure enough, the red dot on the screen had made a huge deviation, completely deviating from Parker's originally route. And Parker's current destination was Bruce's home. Why would he suddenly come to my house? Bruce was puzzled. He had previously told Parker that if there was anything unusual happening to him, he should come to him. Today, it seemed to be the day of Parker's extracurricular activities. Seeing this, Bruce was surprised. Because whether it be in the original comics or in the movies, Parker is always bitten by a spider during his extracurricular activities. And then, overnight, he became Spider-Man. That must be it. Bruce smiled. Parker's ability had awoken, meaning that he could finally do what he intended to do on this mission, and download his abilities. And Parker had some strong abilities. Whether it be his strength, speed or endurance, he had them all, and in spares. That was the real superpower. He is about 10 minutes away from me, I need to prepare. Bruce's face lit up with a smile, then he proceeded to clean up around the house while waiting for Parker. Buzz! Sure enough, soon after, the doorbell rang, and he went to open the door. And indeed, it was Parker. Mr. Bruce, help me. At the moment, Parker was pale and trembling. Bruce knew that Parker was running a low fever. This may be a sign that the process of spider gene fusion had begun. Come in. Bruce seemed very calm about it though. Because he knew that Parker was going to be okay, and he would even benefit a lot out of this temporary confusion. When Parker looked at Bruce's calm face, he suddenly calmed down as well. As Parker was going to his room, Bruce put a hand on him, and Parker's status panel emerged. Name, Peter Benjamin Parker. Identity, high school student. Ability, reorganizing. Reorganizing, huh? It probably represented that the change that Parker was currently going through was not over yet. Mr. Bruce, will I die? I was bitten by a spider during my extracurricular activities. Parker was still very nervous, after all he was quite young, and still afraid of death at this point in the timeline. You will be fine, believe me. Bruce said, and laid Parker on the bed. Soon after, Parker felt a bit tired, so he fell asleep. Bruce's eyes were unchanged. Now that Parker's ability was still being formed, it would be at least a day before it finished. After his ability was fully formed, Bruce would instantly download most of his abilities. In the meantime, however, Bruce went back to the parlor and continued to search for information. Until the next morning. This marks the end of Part 4 of the story Marvel Unlimited Skills, I Can Download. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.